Welcome to Crimson Guitars, welcome to my home studio, and welcome to Luthiers Question Time 81. This is a live stream, soon to be podcast, that it's a forum for which I am eternally grateful. You guys keep me sane. It's a forum in which you guys ask me questions, generally about guitar building, and I answer them to the best of my ability, and well, it is what it is. Greetings. Sunday evening, 8 p.m. on the Crimson Guitars Extras YouTube channel is when the live stream goes out, and we generally we're here for about an hour and a half most days. Alrighty, in the building we have got Lisa Harshberger, Jeff's Guitars, S.M. Myers, Robert R, Sweet Tea Guitars, Frugal Fixer, Rab Knox, Marson of the Nuclear Village, a bunch of us, and a bunch of the Goth Rider Creations. We're all here. S.M. Myers. Let's start off with this question. It says, I watched a couple of videos that indicated doing a full fret sanding and recrowning on a new build is an unnecessarily wasteful practice. It depends on how robotic you are, or how skilled you are at the very least with your fret installation. If you have a perfectly flat fretboard, it's perfectly prepared, and you install every single fret with the exact same amount of pressure, and each fret is absolutely perfectly radiused prior to going in, or somehow auto-magically, I love that word, it is a real word, if it could somehow auto-magically get to the perfect radius and be 100% exactly matched to the fretboard with no minuscule differences, and by minuscule I'm talking about 1/10 of a millimeter or so. If you can do that, then all you need is a very, very light leveling and probably no crowning. Now, I'm pretty sure Paul Reed Smith, PRS, as a company, this is how they do it. They don't actually crown all of the frets on all of the guitars that they make, because they install their frets using, and I may be wrong, I'm fairly sure that's the company. They install their frets using a fret press, and it's got some sort of a mechanism that says, okay, at exactly X pounds of pressure, we will release the pressure and move on to the next fret, etc. So they are all installed in exactly the same way, and as such will all be roughly exactly the right height. So a tiny little bit of leveling, because there's always going to be 1/10 of a millimeter or so difference, will mean that you don't need to crown it because it's so close. Crowning is where you've got some frets where you've removed more material off the top of them, therefore you've flattened the top to a point where it's not going to intonate properly anymore. Most hand builders, most guitar factories, to be honest, it's necessary. It just is part of the thing. I got distracted halfway through because YouTube were flashing up a message saying now would be a good time to insert adverts. So there we go. I haven't yet pushed that button. Maybe today is the day. We'll see. We'll hit peak concurrent viewers and I'll have a coughing fit or something and push the button to just see how many of it you get annoyed. Okay, so that's a very interesting question. Now, bear in mind this is a live stream. I will get to the questions that I can. Super chats are always very much appreciated, and the super chats guarantee an answer. And we've just had the first one from Sweet Tea, says, just making sure my super chat button works. Wow, there's an actual me emoji. Holy, that's pretty damn cool. I didn't know that existed. Thank you very much. And thank you, Sweet Tea, I appreciate it. So Jeff's Guitars is talking about being in the sauna. I'm assuming this is weather. Yes. Black Wraith says, afternoon from the sauna that is the northeastern US. I am so glad I'm not there currently. I'm not built for hot weather. I just don't cope well. But anyhow, so let's have a look. So SMI says, yeah, that was what was used in the video. Flat neck, good radius carve and correctly bent fret wire, and just by careful tapping several times up and down the fretboard, no sanding was required. I think it is very, very easy to do something on video and say, ha, perfect, no sanding required, and then stop recording and then go and fix it. Or in reality, so for the first, I don't know, 10 years of my career as a guitar builder, much of it wasn't actually a career. I really wasn't very good at the setup. I really wasn't very good at the fretwork. In fact, I'm still constantly improving. And I honestly didn't know that it was possible to be better than I was getting at that point. Now, the problem with the proliferation of YouTube, and I'm well aware of the dichotomy that I'm standing here on YouTube talking to you about this, is that anybody can make a video and anybody can watch just anybody talking about it. And it's quite difficult. It's quite difficult. There are actually, now that I think about it, videos that I put out a long time ago that probably have questionable techniques in there. In fact, really, now that I think about it, I need to go back and look at my back catalogue and private a few videos. But anyway, it is what it is. Okay. Frugal Fixer says, my shop is 97 degrees and the office is 86. I'd be working in the office. The roof the roof of the shop from the inside is 144.3 degrees Fahrenheit. Dang hot. Crikey, okay. Now, all right. Sporadic Amnesic coming with another super chat with 3 of the me emojis. I need to find out where Talitha, I'm assuming Talitha made those. Evening, Mr. Crowe. Hope it's all well with you and the family. Much better than it was last week. You guys were sort of watching me have a mini meltdown. I am... sorry, I've got a cup of sort of lemon and honey tea here I'm going to be drinking. I am stressed out, but it's getting better and it's going to be good. It's going to be fine. I need to calm down a little bit and potentially slow down a little bit. But yeah, it's fine. We're getting there. Volcanescent says, hi Ben, is there a quick way to sand pot? Haha. This question. Hi Ben, is there a quick way to sand pot recesses other than go bonkers with my fingers and sandpaper? Cheers, V. Okay, so by pot recesses, I don't have a PRS to hand. Hold on for a second. I sort of lied. I've got a Crimson SRP kit. So by pot recesses, you're talking about these recesses in here, where the potential the control knob will be recessed into the body. It's one of my favourite parts of Paul's design. Actually, I really do like that. I'm running into wires and all sorts of stuff. Okay, so this is something that is not particularly easy. Going bonkers with your fingers and sandpaper is the accepted method. Another would be to, if you have access to a lathe, or potentially it could be done on a pillar drill, but it's to take a piece of dowel or something round and carve the correct or roughly the correct curve onto the end of that, and then use some thin foam glued onto that and a piece of sandpaper glued onto that. Now, not necessarily glued. The other option is you drill the holes for the potentiometers and have a screw holding the piece of paper, and that screw locates inside the hole that's drilled through into the control cavity, and you can do it that way. Now, we've tried many different methods. In fact, this is I need to make and sell a tool to make this easier. My plan is to make exactly that tool, and then we will laser cut out little sandpaper discs that have got relief cuts in the sandpaper. And of course you can make this at home if you want. And essentially you star out from around the hole, and as it goes over the curve, each segment of the paper will fold over itself and thus create the curve. It is not easy. The problem even with that method is that you will still end up with circular scratches in there. It just is what it is. So yeah, I don't know. Does anybody have a favorite method that works? My workbench has got that thick rubber that you have underneath bass guitar pickups that acts as the spring. That stuff just on a piece of wood that's spinning around does very, very well as well. But anyway, I'm all ears for your ideas. Yes, Ian M, it is officially pizza time. Okay. Where are we? Sweetie says, I need to move to the UK. Ben has a flannel shirt on in July. Yeah. What can I say? Ooh. Matthew Kabat says, good evening from Cape Town, South Africa, Bangro. Good evening, Matthew. Luthier Build says, I use a saber-tooth dome bit in a drill press, which is fantastic to get the actual curve, but the final sanding, that's a problem. Yeah, that is a big problem. Okay, the big unit says, hey Ben, are you doing a holiday live stream tomorrow? Cheers, brother. I am most assuredly not. No live stream tomorrow, and holiday, it's the 4th of July. I will be weeping in a corner for you guys are celebrating. We over in England are just bereft at the continuing breakup and the pain. No, I'm not doing a live stream. I've got a couple of very, 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 very important meetings that I have to do, and I've got to figure out. There's a lot to do, but the most important thing is I really actually do need to chill out. I've got, that feeling just before you absolutely burn out. That's kind of me at the moment. So yeah, no live stream tomorrow. There may well be one next week, but I'm not entirely sure on that yet. I'm going to keep the Q&A live streams on Sunday evenings going, come what may. That's absolutely fine. But I do feel like I need to actually take an actual holiday for a minute. The nice thing is, in the previous live streams, we have actually gotten ahead of ourselves. This is the first time ever that I've finished an entire build before the editors even needed to start editing it. So the bass guitar build is going to be going live on the channel. I've got a couple of things that I want to do with Triton. Have got a new router that I really want to look at on the channel. So that'll come out. and there is going to be a hand tool only build episode in a couple of weeks, but other than that, I'm stepping back for a minute. I won't be stopping. I am hoping that by the next time I do this stream, all of these tools will be gone, and I'll have the new setup in the extension as well. But we'll see. Fluid Focus says, I've always liked that design on a PRS too. It's just one of the, it's obvious. It's somebody who played a Stratocaster in the way that I do, and got absolutely peeved off with hitting the volume knob all the time. And yeah, I like it. Okay, hold on. I have a question here on the Discord. It says, Ben, any idea if Crimson will ever get a hold of any Carina or of any UK-based suppliers? Carina is one of those horrific things that it's just intensely difficult to get in the UK. I don't know of anybody that actually currently stocks it. Try David Dyke Luthiers supplies. I have bought it from them in the past. He's pretty expensive, but he's good. I've been daydreaming of a Carina SG Junior type. Ooh, aka if Reverend ever decided to make an SG type, and may want to try it as my first ever build that would qualify for the scratch category of GGBO. I mean, go for it. That sounds epic. One of my first proper guitars was an Epiphone SG, and I've always had a weak spot for those. There was an auction recently that I did. The 59 Les Paul was there, and there was an SG Junior in that was the only guitar I actually put a bid in, knowing full well I wouldn't win, but you know, anyway. Okay, Frugal Fixer Spike says is asking for any suggestions for a colour of the back of the Plasticaster. It's awesome. It has to be black. Oh. Yeah, you do you. I have no. I would be tempted to, personally, I would be tempted to match the front finish exactly by having a timber core, but having it surrounded front and back by the plastic that you form. Heat forming into the shape, and that way everything matches nicely. Okay. Carina is limber, white or black. Yes, it's still really difficult to get in the UK. So Carina, limber, white limber, black limber. Gareth Travis says, hey Ben, if one can't find a Miller's Falls #1 hand drill locally, will a #5 do similar work? Okay, so yes, a #5 is a slightly larger tool. So this is a very, very like 1870s early or so version of the #1. This would be the #1. The #5 would be, I think, 2-3 inches longer, which is absolutely fine. And yes, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful tools as well. In fact, I bought a bunch of relatively modern Miller's Falls drills, braces, and screwdrivers today, but nary a #1 in them either. That will all be hitting vintagetoolshop.com probably next weekend, actually. But seriously, any Miller's Falls drill that you can get is probably worth your time. They're awesome. They really are. Okay, the big unit has come in with a super chat in reply to me saying I'm not going to be doing a live stream tomorrow during the day. Says, yes, I know that feeling quite well. I've been doing 6-day weeks for the last 2 months and travelled over 7,000 miles in that time. Sanity must take priority. I absolutely agree. I think, yeah. I'm personally in a really, really weird situation. You're working really hard, and I don't know how you particularly feel about your job or your boss or the company and all of that sort of stuff. That's always a complicated thing. For me, it's my company, and I'm the boss, and I absolutely love 95% of what I do, and it's because you guys are here and you guys are watching, and I just love it. So when I'm doing it, I really, really love it. I was having a conversation with, and I don't want this all to be talking about me and stuff, but I was having a conversation with, I've finally been officially the ADHD, I nearly said HDMI, I'm looking at cables everywhere. The ADHD diagnosis is now officially in, for what that's worth. But while talking to that person, he was like, so, you know, are these symptoms caffeine? Or potentially a mixture of caffeine and horrific stress, because it sounds like probably the latter. Like, oh, well, I can cut down the caffeine a little bit, but I don't think I could cut the stress down without, you know. But anyway, so we've started on the coffee. Anyway, yes, health. Look after your health. Now, I've missed a couple of super chats here. So, big unit. Sanity must take priority. Chill out, man. 7,000 miles in 2 months. That is, even for somebody driving around in the States where, you know, 300 miles is next door, that's incredible. I have done just over 20,000 miles in 2 and a bit years in my van. Okay, V says, hi Ben, recessed sanding tool, cool, smiley emoji. Earlier this week I discovered that the Crimson shop says that no more kits will be offered, only custom. Will the gorgeous regular kits move under another brand? Please say yes. Cheers, V. That is what tomorrow and Tuesday's meetings are about. It turns out that we've been making a pretty horrendous loss on the kit guitar side of the business month on month. Now, my options are just cease entirely and continue the refocus towards guitars, or not make them to the same level as the £4,000 guitars that we do. I don't know. Probably the latter. So, look, I will have definitive answers for everybody on that front next week. I am hoping. So the biggest issue that we've got at the moment is that we customize everything for everybody. And if you wanted, I don't know, a V but with Strat pickups for some horrendous reason, I can't believe I need to go and wash my mouth out with soap at the moment. That sounds horrible. It really does sound quite horrible, doesn't it? Wow. Okay. Judgy much, Mr. Crowe? We will do that, and it turns out that in all of the emails that it takes to finalize those things and all of that, by the time it's all done, we've actually made a loss on pretty much every guitar. Say 80% of the guitars the kit guitars we do. So we need to stop that. I'm hoping that we will do limited special things where there'll be a custom, hey, we've used this bog oak or whatever, and it'll go on the website and it'll just be available for anybody who wants one. And I'm also hoping that I will be able to figure out a way to do just standard kits where it's not to order, but it is, you know, an S-type, a T-type, an MF or whatever. But it very, very much depends on how tomorrow goes. And yeah, this is the thing. We just do them too well for our own good. Sweet Tea Guitar says, what is some of your favorite woods that you have issues getting over there? I ask for a reason. Sweet Tea, I'm going to have to stop accepting your packages. You're far too kind. There are people who are far more deserving than I am, it must be said. Look, Karina is the one. You know about Redwood. You donated the Redwood, unless I'm completely misconstruing everything, for the baritone that raised 15 grand for the Ukraine Red Cross appeal. And yeah, so Redwood, Karina, and Quilt Maple is fairly difficult to get a hold of, although I think we're sorting that out at this point. Now my issue is we're actually in the process of trying to get into the wood business as well. And these things I'm hoping to be able to find suppliers for, so that we'll be able to supply it and bring the hard to find things. Swamp ash is another one. Just really, really difficult. But anyhow, now D Bailey, hey man, how you doing? Says dust collector, a recommendation for a table and bandsaw. Okay, fantastic. So there was a super chat in pounds. So thou art in the UK. Record power. Okay. It very much depends on how much you want to spend. In my experience, CamVac, which is owned by Record, and I don't have a relationship with Record, much to my chagrin. I'm a huge fan of the company, but they won't pay sponsorships or anything like that. So I'm literally just doing this as a fan. CamVac are very, 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 very good. And Record themselves also have their own brand of dust extraction units that are very good. Some of the less pricey ones are a little bit loud. But the way that they work is they've got the buckets and everything, so there's no dust on a bag that gets pushed into the room every time you turn it on, and it's really, really far, far better than a traditional bagged dust extractor system. And if you want one of those, then there's any number available. But personally, I have two. I've got 2 Record power extraction systems in here, and then some random thing I picked up through Vintage Tool Shop that gets turned on once or twice. So yeah, there we go. Damon McCartney says, very much a woodworking novice here, and this is via Super Chat as well, thank you very much, and says, getting my fretboards to sit flat on necks. Advice? Try harder, get better, practice, help, all of the above. Yeah, okay, so it sounds like the big issue you've got is in the fundamentals of using a hand plane, or potentially in the wood prep beforehand. So you don't, I know, I can't believe I'm saying this, you don't actually need a hand plane in order to build a guitar. You can get away with not using hand planes at all. You would probably, however, need a very well kitted out workshop with big planer thicknesses and sanders and big belt sander, that sort of stuff. But it's all about the wood prep, so I would suggest you watch a number of videos about using hand planes, about setting up hand planes, and how to sharpen tools as well. It's the thing that you need to understand is that it can get incredibly frustrating if something isn't working the way you want it to. I am getting flashbacks of a Wenge Purple Heart neck blank that I think there was actually a soprano in there as well. I couldn't get right. I wasn't very good at sharpening my hand blades at the time. I had a really horrible planer thicknesser that I just couldn't get the setup right. And I actually gave up on this particular neck blank. It's probably still in the Timber Story Crimson. It went wrong. All shades of wrong. And it nearly made me want to actually stop building guitars. The issue was that I knew that with better tools and a little bit more work, I could get to a point where that wouldn't be an issue. I also knew that I could choose to completely avoid Purple Heart, Wenge and Zambrano for the rest of my life if I decided to. And I almost have. So yeah, practice your planing. If absolutely necessary, you can use a chunk of sandpaper on a nice big flat surface, and you can use that to flatten material down as well. So the top of the neck, the back of the fretboard, etc. But that was a very broad, very difficult question to answer, so there we go. Oh, the big unit says I own my own training business too. Ha! Okay, well this is the thing. So you'll be doing the lectures for 2, 3, 4 days a week, and then you're off working on your own bat. And for some reason, working on your own bat means you work twice as hard. There we go, I'm just spilling tea down, my friend. Yeah, it's not easy. I needed you the other day, actually. I started wiring the... I wired a new light into the ceiling absolutely fine. Went to do the other one, and there was an whole extra cable that shouldn't exist. And yeah, I finally managed to go back to the original light that was in there and just leave it. I'm gonna get an electrician in. Yeah, I took a photograph of the first fitting and completely forgot to take a photograph of the second one. So I took some trial and error to figure out where I was at. Anyway, it is what it is. Ivan Wizard has just signed up to All That Jazz as a member. Welcome. Thank you very much. JS Tracking Guitars has been a member for 4 months now and has come in with a question. It says, good afternoon, Ben. I will be uploading episode 1 of my GGBO build tonight. Issues with editing software. I've had to reset my PC. I will check that out, and yeah, good luck with the PC. Editing is one of those things. It's hardware intensive, and can sometimes drive people insane. But yeah, is what it is. Okay. Now, Lisa, hey Lisa. Lisa Harshberger says, when does the base build go up? I think that the first episode of the base build is going to be Saturday, so in 3 or 4 days, and that's yeah, it's going to go from there basically. Sunbase says, talking about Vulcan and the recessed pots, says, I've had good luck with modifying a spade bit to create the basic shape. That's exactly how I do it when I'm doing it by hand. And then using sandpaper glued to a Dremel buffing wheel to get the tool marks out. Works on mahogany. A Dremel, haha. Okay. Yeah. I'll try that one. Tony P says, I'm pretty sure England doesn't celebrate our independence. No, not really. Big Unit says, if I were local, I would have come over and helped. As it is, it would probably be easier and more cost-effective to call a local electrician. None of them picked up, but I did manage to fix it in the end. I've got the phone numbers of 3 electricians in my phone, and no, Saturday lunchtime, nah, not interested. Damon McCartney has come bach in and said, thank you and sorry for my very basic question. Hey, there is no such thing as a stupid question. There's no such thing as too basic of a question, specifically when you're asking how to make something. Seriously, this is, yeah, no worries. I'm inspired to keep building after meeting you at the guitar show. Thanks, commenters, for the advice also. It's a pleasure, and yeah, I assume that it was a pleasure to meet you at the show as well. I don't remember meeting anybody who I didn't want to meet, so yeah. I am, however, sure I'm losing my mind at this point. Okay, SM Meyer says, Ben, to cut out the control knob inserts, perhaps a Roman OG router bit. I believe that style is the right shape. All you really need is a curve, but I have unsuccessfully tried a router bit mounted into a pillar drill. Unsuccessfully about 50% of the time. Pillar drills just don't get up enough speed, so you have to go really gently. The nice thing about that, though, is you can plan ahead and have a bearing on one of those router bits, and make sure that that bearing fits perfectly inside of the locating hole in the middle, and that keeps it nice and centered where you want it. You then make the hole bigger for your control knob, your potentiometer at a later point. But yeah, good question. Now, oh yes, Mr. Waffles says Paul Sellers has a couple of fantastic videos on how to restore, set up, sharpen and use hand planes. Paul Sellers is great for a just deep dive into tools and tool maintenance. In fact, his book is massive and really good as well. Although he seems to have an issue with block planes, so I don't really trust him fully. Time and Guitar also suggests Paul Sellers. D-Bailey says, ha, glad you said Camvac, I just bought one. You will not be disappointed. Robert R, there we go. Robert R, thank you, Robert. I knew I was saying a mistake there. Robert R says the redwood for the Ukrainian relief build was some I sent you, Ben. No problem with the goof up, forgiven. Robert, thank you very much. I knew. Watch, I'm writing this down. Redwood, etc. I am so bad, and with so many names and so many people and stuff, it's just poof. What I need to actually do is when people send me stuff like that, I want to, moving forward, put a sticker or a bit of masking tape on there with names so I can properly attribute these things. Because it's only polite, isn't it, really? Jaybird Customs. Jaybird, how are you? Haven't seen you in a while. How would you, or at least I haven't noticed you in a while. It's probably me, not you. How would you recommend doing a German carved top? I like the look and would like to do one, but I've got no idea where to start. I mean, router table is probably your best bet for an initialization of the whole process. So yeah, essentially I would start with a bearing router and take away as much as humanly possible to get that started. So you end up with a lip around the side of the guitar, and then it's a case of carving in by hand, angle grinder with a saber tooth cut or something like that, gouges. Yeah, I have seen some very, very big router bits that would do that in one pass. Super scary, especially on a router table. Oh, I've got a physical reaction at how scary that. No, thank you. Okay. Stephen Clark says, can you mix stain shots with wood glue to make a faux veneer layer in a multi-lam body? Will this compromise the glue joint? Thanks for all you do. Wow. It's honestly not often that we get a completely new question. I'm absolutely sure that you can stain the glue. I've never tried it. I'm sure that you can stain wood glue with the crimson shots. The problem with modern glues, and it's not really a problem, the modern glues, I think it would compromise the joint. You don't want a solid layer. You don't want a thick enough layer to see in between two things, because that's not how this glue is designed to work. If you want something like that, I would say you have to use some stained veneer. Now, in the UK, no, you're in the States, I think. At least you're using US dollars. Yeah, stained poplar veneer is your best bet. I've used that before with a pop of color, and it's great. If you do this, you might see it, but you're talking about a minuscule, tiny, super tiny layer. Okay, here we go. Just out of interest, I'm going to see if we can stain this. Ooh. That's a really nasty noise, isn't it? So just a spooge of glue in there. And I'm using a tiny amount of glue, so just a single drop of purple. Yeah. So yes, it's entirely possible to stain the glue, and I think that you might be an evil genius. I think that with a bright enough color as a substrate, or enough of the stain mixed in, you could actually. Okay, that's completely out of focus. Come on, camera, what are you doing? You were in focus just now. There we go. Yeah. Really good idea. Really good idea indeed. Lisa Harshberger says, how do you determine tuna spacing on a headstock? Generally, I will draw my strings in. I will often start with straight string pull and go from there. Okay, let me start again. Initially, if at all possible, I will use a template for another guitar. Fender Strat, Gibson Les Paul, Paul Reed Smith, something like that. And that will get me part of the way to my headstock design, because there are only so many things that you can do, really. We are trained to see a headstock, we're trained to expect it to look a certain way, and yeah, starting with a little bit of a head start by using somebody else's design it's the way everybody does it. If you don't have that, draw the strings, draw the alignment where you want them to go, generally straight. If you've got a 3-a-side, you would probably want the two inner ones to go out a little bit. And then utilizing the tuners themselves, I will physically put them on the piece of paper and say, okay, well, actually, yeah, I want it to be about 40 millimeters, 45 millimeters, maybe away from the back of the nut. I am pulling that number out of my memory from somewhere. So round about that. And then you use them to space them out in that way. Yeah, it's a multifaceted problem. The big unit. You are the MVP today. Thank you very much. Another super chat says, Ben, I'm thinking of posting a short video showing how several of the crimson, stunning and vibrant stains look on ash. Is it cool? It's absolutely cool. Is it cool if I talk about your products and link the website? 100%. Of course it's cool. Yes, emphatically, please, and send me the link, and I'll get Talitha or somebody to post it, and we'll share. In all seriousness, there is an affiliates program on our website. I don't think I've ever mentioned it because it somehow feels a little bit too commercial and crass, but there we go. Essentially, there is an affiliates program, and any of you who want to can go to crimsonguitars.com. There's a link somewhere on the website where you can sign up for an affiliates program, and if somebody goes and buys one of our products due to a link of yours, you get a payout. It's all an automatic system, and it's just, you know, it's something that I put in place about 6 months ago and totally forgot about, but I know people are getting paid. So yeah, if you're going to do that anyway, big unit, then 100% see if you can make some money doing it as well. Okay. The neighbours are playing music, that's fine. Yes, Ravenwolf, I agree. E.R. Webster says, I used a flat sand instead of a jointer for a long time. It works great. So yeah, instead of a plane, you can. Brad's Custom Guitar says, hi Ben, I was just wondering what height from the body should the fretboard be for the allowance of the perfect action setup. I currently set it to around 9mm. Is that all right? It's that the height of the fretboard above the body is just one part of a multitudinous layer of things. So yes, it could be perfect, or for a guitar it could be exactly wrong. Personally, I have come very recently to the conclusion that a lot of the guitars that I particularly like the tone of, they've actually got thinner than usual fretboards. So I've been making fretboards at 7 to 8mm thick in the center forever. I think I should be making them 5 to 6, maybe 7 tops. But yeah, the positioning above the whole thing, that's entirely different. That's the neck angle comes into play. The height and type of bridge that you're using comes into play. It's all, yeah, it's all difficult. Okay. Frugal Fixer, hey man, says, Ben, the plastic caster #1 wood back, #2 nice wood front, and both sides out of plastic solved. I can't wait to cut a hole and release the sound trying to get out of one. I know it's in there, I can feel it. I would not be surprised. One of the best sounding instruments I've ever made was solid perspex. Just because we obsess about wood and the tonal qualities there too, that does not mean that other materials do not have properties that could be gorgeous. People have been playing around with aluminium guitars since the 1890s. So, yeah. Okay. Bonehead Guitar says, that reminds me, do not mark your vids as for kids. I can't add those to the playlist. Huh. Okay, that's interesting. So Bonehead Guitars has the biggest, the best, the most concise, the most complete playlist for the Great Guitar Build of 2022. And yeah, we appreciate all the work he puts into that. So at the very least, go and subscribe to his channel. I have spoken. Mr. Waffle says, I have so much editing to do. I've been putting it off, and after this I'm going to lock myself in a room to do it. Oof. This thing is just flipping around all over the place. So this is the thing that the chat just goes poof down the bottom, and I lose my place, and at that point it's done. Stephen Hatch says, bring back the modern. Timing Guitars says, have you ever used Cascamite instead of PVA? I have not. That's one of the few glues I've not experienced in person. Fluid focus, headstocks are a pain to design, but fun. Ian M says, keep in mind you don't want the tuners any closer than the width of the tuning key, otherwise they run into one another. Absolutely. Goth Rider Creation says, bun. I prefer to use mica powders to colour my glues. It works great with wood glues, CA and epoxies. Woo, yes, okay. I mean, that has absolutely worked, but yeah, with a mica powder you can get a very, very vivid sort of colour, I would imagine. I've got a drawer full of them down there. Just waiting for this idea. I literally don't know why I've got them here. Grain filler. Grain filler on the guitar I tried to do in like 300 minutes, that was it. You fool. Anyhow. Yes, Lisa, the affiliate program is live. It's functioning. It's something that should be up. Barry Christian's asking if the dyed glue would not bleed into each of the laminates. It might. With maple, for example, you might see that. As with all of these things, 100% do experimentation with what you're working on beforehand. Especially, I've never had that thought of dyeing glue. So yeah, 100% check it out. Chef Pete Snaith says, hello all, I finally caught a live feed. Greetings and salutations. Jaybird's been lurking in the shadows. Yesterday was my birthday, happy birthday, and I was able to replace my resaw blade, so I'm hoping to be able to jump back into my GGBO build. Awesome sauce. I'm looking forward to what you make. I'm looking forward to seeing what you make. I'm really tired right now, guys. I need to stop moaning. That's what I need to stop moaning. Stephen Clark says, my thoughts were that it would just look like a bad joint instead of like an intended layer. It's entirely possible. In fact, probable, come to think of it. Time and Guitar says, have you ever made an archtop, Ben? I have indeed. I even finished one once. One of the most disappointing guitars I ever made, because I sent it off to a professional finisher who then sprayed over all of the beautiful abalone purfling, put an intensely thick coat of lacquer on there, and just killed all sound that the guitar would have had. It does the rounds. Every now and then it comes up to auction. One day I'll buy it. I'll buy it back and strip it or something. But anyway. Thank you, Robert. I appreciate that. Gareth Travis says, hi Ben, what size Triton quick clamps do you use in your build videos besides all of them? So these are... Oh, is that glue I dropped earlier? The length, they're 19 inches long, and to the end, yeah, 3 inches. So 3 inches that way. After a stream, I end up with all sorts of just random little bits and pieces on the bench. Why is that? What is that clamp doing there? It's a game we play. Mr. Waffles says he only uses a number 4 for everything: jointing, scrubbing, smoothing. Number 4. That's a very, very good point. Yeah, it's one of those things when you've got a way that you work, it's the way that you work, and it's fine. I've tried to be a lot more open than I'm a lot more open to change and to being told that I'm wrong than some YouTubers that I've seen. And yeah, I just feel that there is no right or wrong way. You can joint. You could use a number 4 for everything. I wouldn't want to. It closes off all these other lovely things that we get to use. Okay. Paul needs, yes, flattening the back of the neck heel tenon with a flat board and sandpaper. That's how Gibson do it. Stian TV says, weird question, you spend a lot of time on your feet. What footwear do you use? I've actually yes, I am on my feet all the time. In fact, I can't sit in a chair without feeling uncomfortable for a long period of time, generally. It varies, and it's a constant problem. I have been told that I need to actually buy chef's shoes, but what I find is that I actually tend to change shoes halfway through the day if I've got that option. Having the same pair of shoes on day in, day out ends up causing all sorts of issues. At one point, I would get up in the middle of the night and I would hardly be able to walk to the loo because my feet were so sore. And at that point, I was probably wearing Doc Martens back then, but that was all I was wearing. And yeah, so it almost doesn't matter what you wear as long as they're good quality and support you properly. But varying them day to day is a thing. I'm on my 3rd pair of shoes today, somehow. Yeah, there we go. I thought that I can't believe I'm going off on about shoes. I went to Northampton, which is, there's I think 22 shoe factories there, and they've all got discount out, or most of them have got discount outlets. So you can get a pair of Doc Martens for half retail, and it's essentially brand new. It's great. That's the kids wear Doc Martens because I can, that's where I get them. And I picked up a bunch of, like 2 or 3 pairs of handmade, really nice, really high-end shoes at a discount, thinking that would be all my problems solved, and it's not. It's not a function of how much they retail for. It's a function of how well they fit, and you still need to change them. So yeah, I've got shoes that I wear in the workshop that should cost £200 or £300, and if I wear them for too long, my feet are sore. So, yeah, it is what it is. Ravencroft Guitar says, my dad always said that a stupid question is one that you don't ask. I agree. Okay, Big Unit says, Ben, I use the rubber 3x3 anti-slip work mats by my workbenches. It helps a lot. That is something that I was looking at the other day, in fact, for the new part of the workshop. So yes, I am going to be putting those in place as well. I have because I change the shoes relatively often, I don't have the same issues I had with my feet a couple of years back. Also, yeah, this floor here is insulated and has some spring to it, which you can sometimes hear. Anyhow. Yeah, good hint there, Big Unit. Lisa Harshberger says, got a Stanley 220 vintage plane to clean up. Lovely little block planes. Says, I blame you, I just can't afford the longer planes. But I find myself looking at vintage tools every week. Lisa, seriously, a 220, it's about that big, absolutely perfectly fine. Again, you could use that to do most jobs in a guitar build. You don't need to go off-piste the way I have. Yeah, good luck in the hunt. I'm sure if you frequent the right places, you can find deals all the time. I popped into my local car boot sale this afternoon and found a beautiful record bench vise for a tenner. And then went a little bit further down, and for £6 I managed to buy 4 Cooper's planes, I think 150-year-old saw that I'm going to end up restoring and selling for probably 80, 90 quid. I don't know. And an American style draw knife that this guy charged me £1 for, that is probably also a 30, 40 pound tool when we've restored it. And it's just, yeah, a case of looking. Yeah. Anyway. Questions, queries, comments, or we could call it a night. It's been an hour. Let's see. Grumpy Volt Boy, what a name, says, hey Ben, I would like to know if it's really necessary to have some wood material between the truss rod and the carbon rods left and right. Many thanks in advance. Yes, it is very necessary. Let me rethink my entire life right now. Hold on. I've made many, many, many bad decisions. Okay, 1, carbon fiber in dust form in the air is very bad for you. Don't do it. 2, if you glue the carbon fiber stiffening rods in first and then route and they're in properly and they're glued in and they're integral, then you could probably route the truss rod channel between them, but you're going to be aerosolizing carbon fiber, so that's really not good. The thing is, the stiffening rods are there to stiffen, and if they're entirely surrounded by neck wood and fretboard wood, then they will do that job. If they are only surrounded on 3 sides rather than 4, your truss rod does create air gaps. If you're using a dual action truss rod, it's going to be moving, and there is a movement there, which means that the stiffening rod doesn't have the same amount of strength and isn't giving the same amount of stiffening as one would like, in my opinion. I generally only have 2 or 3 millimeters tops on there. Sporadic Amnesic has come in with a super chat, thanks very much, and says, will you have any items for sale at the Kempton Racecourse Guitar Show in October? I'm going to start saving up some pennies. I am sincerely hoping that we will have a full batch of all of the tools that we do. So Crimson tools, 100%. We're not going to be bringing, we might bring a few hand planes or something along just for fun, but no. It's looking like, it's looking like we are going to be in stock of absolutely everything imminently. Like, we're already in stock of almost everything. There's a few items that are a little bit problematic, but basically by then we really should. Sweet Tea Guitar says, what to use for wood allergies? I've got an arm rash that itches so bad. Stopping is not an option, and ebony seems to be the worst. Okay, just general antihistamines. Just pop a hay fever tablet, should knock that on its head. I am not a doctor, nor should anybody take any medical advice from me in any way, shape or form. Squirrel? Don't do it. But yeah, I would try that. I have... and wear a dust mask if you can. Not that that stops itching arms. Yeah. I'm going to insert an advert. And I'm only doing it because YouTube have just popped up and told me to do it again. And I want to have a drink. So let me know what happens here. I've never done this before and I want to see what happens, okay? Ad inserted. Nothing happened. It didn't stop. It didn't pause anything for me. So I don't get a break. But no, what really happened is it said insert an ad. I clicked insert an ad. It said you've inserted an advert. Disappeared for a second, and they said, hey, let's insert another ad. So that's typical. Did you guys see adverts? Let me know in the chat. There we go. So, I think about 10 people just turned off the stream. I'm not going to do that again. That's absolute bullshit. I thought I'd see it myself, and it just didn't do anything. No. No, fine. Okay, cool. Stian TV says a trend micro ad appeared and then skipped after 5 seconds. Chris Harvey saw Obi-Wan Kenobi. That was a good series. I did enjoy that. It'll probably play on the playback option, not on the live stream. That's from Stephen Hatch. Chef Pete Snaith. Well, I did see it. About 15 people stopped watching at the point I did that, even though I was doing it obviously as a joke. But anyway. So a bunch of people got skippable ads. I'm not going to do that again. That's not what the point of this thing is. Okay, Goth Rider Creation says, Bun, I don't want to route my top down, but I'm worried about the action. My fretboard will be 7mm above the top. Could I just sink the bridge down and lower the pickups? So it's about the angle. It's not about, yes, my fretboard is often 7mm above the top. That's around about spot on for me. But if the neck doesn't have the right back angle, then the rest of the equation isn't going to work. If you're worried, draw what you've got on a piece of paper and then physically work it out from there. It's not about angles. It's not about measurements. You could have a neck that is 20mm above the top and still need to recess the bridge if you've got the angles wrong. So physically draw it, full size, to a piece of paper, and go from there. I'm moving this. The one problem I got with these is that the corners where they've been chopped off are always sharp, so I file all of mine down. Okay. I feel really guilty about that advert now. They just keep on, they were advertising to me to advertise with an advert. Anyway. Oh, the big unit says, hi Ben, have you ever used black and white ebony? It's so beautiful, but so expensive. I have got a fretboard's worth that I want to use at some point, but it has, yeah. Okay, where are we? Sorry, I'm just looking to see. No. Okay, cool. I sometimes get messages there and they're dinged a few times. Unfortunately, one of the neighbour's cats has been taken out by a tractor or something. It's very sad. Luthier for Build says, I really want the mini scrapers. They're always out of stock. Can you drop an email to shop@crimsonguitars.com, say Ben sent me. I want those, and I will ask the team tomorrow about that because they should be in stock. Fluid Focus says, Ben, what is your personal favorite pickup combination and why? Personally, I absolutely love the Crimson, the classic hook as we call them, but mixed in with a piezo system. So yeah, the neck pickup with a piezo. Wow. But again, this is all, do I hear what you hear? I doubt it. I'm a weirdo. Okay. Time and Guitar says, what glue do you use for the carbon rods? I tend to use super glue. And it's just spooge a lot in there, put a goggle on, dot, 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 and you're sorted. Really make sure that you don't have to sand any of it down. If anything, you want the carbon rods to be a little bit below the level of the neck, and then you can always fill with a layer of epoxy or super glue. Sanding that stuff down or scraping it, no, not good. Matthew Dennis says, Ben, do you have any wooden planes? I don't have any wooden planes other than this little beastie that I made for the hand tool build that I use. I do have wooden planes. So let's move the. So this is a gorgeous, gorgeous little little plane made by Bill Carter. Lovely little thing. One of his early ones, fairly chunky mouth. That's the one I made. And excuse me. In the when the stream is moved over to there, I am pulling my collection, my tool collection together, and it's all actually going to be available, and I will be able to do videos where I look at individual tools, and I've got, for example, probably 20 or 30 small, maybe even more, small wooden planes like this in the collection. And yeah, some of them could be made useful. Could be fun. I lied, there's at least 50. I have a weakness. D. Bailey says, I recently got lucky and got a Lee Nielsen 7.5, 72.5. And it wasn't in great condition, and it needed fixing, but it needed, he says the word too, but a pretty cool rarity. Nielsen 7.5. Oh, wow. Okay, that's the low angle joint plane. Okay. Now that is a bit of a buy. Crikey. Congratulations. Martin Valan says, hello, I bought a telly body from Crimson. The neck pocket is too small for a standard telly neck. How would you fix that? That shouldn't be the case. It depends. It should be absolutely perfect for an actual telly neck. If that is not the case, well, drop us an email. And that could be interesting. How would I fix that? A little bit of routing. Personally, that's what I would do. I would move, I would use a neck pocket template and make it just a fraction bigger. Now, there is definitely some variation. There's huge variation on necks that you can buy. And this is generally why we suggest that if you're going to buy a body from us, then buy a neck from us as well. I've seen telly necks from 54 millimeters to 56 millimeters wide, if not more, and that is just a huge variation when you're expecting to have a nice tight neck pocket. But anyway, Sporadic Amnesic says, I bought an Explorer style kick guitar a few years ago and found out after I put it together that the frets are not spaced properly and bunch up along the neck. This is one of the issues that you get with it's one of the things, you never really know what you're going to get. I would suggest, obviously a couple of years ago you're not going to get your money back. I would suggest ripping the frets out and hoping that you can fill the slots with veneer, and not just dust and glue, specifically with something harder, a bit more solid like veneer, and then recut the fret slots yourself by hand to move them into the correct positions, and hope that they were close enough that the slots that have been filled are covered by the new fret wire. That's what I would do. Okay. Borgonian Evolution says, professionally fit aircrew flight boots that have been walked in a stream and worn dry to fit your feet perfectly. That sounds incredible. Okay. Paul Need says, Dr. Martens, good army boots, good trainers. I worked as a postman for a while and it wrecked my feet so badly I could only wear tennis shoes for a year afterwards. Crikey. Everybody agreeing with Mr. Waffles and the big units, saying those anti-fatigue mats are dope. Altberg in the UK sell very good memory foam insoles for their range of boots, well worth looking into. Ed Napolitano says, hi Ben, I'm coming to Crimson in September. I'm just wondering if I should bring some of my own hand tools. I'm sure you have everything there, but I thought it might make life easier to use tools I know. If you have the ability, if you have tools that you know and love, 100% bring them along. Your bench will have a box in which you can keep your stuff. If you have a lockable tool chest and that makes you feel better, then cool, but there's security cameras and all stuff. We've never had tools go missing that we know of. But yes, if you've got a way that you sharpen your planes, and everybody does, if you've got your favorite chisels, definitely bring your tools. Emphatically, 100%. Could I say it in any more emphatic of a way? I don't think so. So, yeah. And I'm looking forward to meeting you. Echo Shoes. That's from Wolford Guitars. Frugal Fixer Guitar says, I saw somebody joint two boards at a 2 to 3 degree angle. They explained that the angle hides the seam. True? I don't think so. Not in that way. It's having a sharper angle. So, for example, when you're putting in a patch repair on an acoustic guitar, on a spruce top or something like that, you don't want to have a patch that you just route a hole and then inlay the patch in, because yes, you will absolutely see the joint on that. If you've got a very gentle curve, and the whole thing's got a long, beautiful curve, so that at the end, at the edges of the patch, it's at a very steep angle to the view, then yes, that hides it. A 2 or 3 degree angle I don't think would achieve the same thing. I think that's just nonsense, I'm afraid. I'm happy to be proved wrong. So yeah. In fact, if you could send me the link, I'd love to see who that was. Goth Rider Creations, they're talking about music. I use Epidemic Sound. It's like $10 a month or something. I do have an affiliates link at the bottom of videos and things if you want to. I think I get a kickback. But seriously, the beautiful thing about it is if you have, for example, a month's subscription with Epidemic Sound, you use whatever you want on, say, 10 videos. You upload all of those in that month period and then cancel your subscription for the rest of your life. You had a subscription when they went live, and that music is royalty free. It's incredible. And I used to worry so much, even about writing and putting my own stuff on there. I worried that somebody would come in and I'd lose the channel, and yeah. But anyway. Charles Piper says, Ben, inlay question. How thick should my inlay materials be? And yes, I will practice first. I generally say 0.5 millimeter to as much as you can get away with. Say 0.5 millimeter is the absolute minimum that I would try. Filing through is a real risk at that point. I generally stick for 1 to 2 millimeters thick for ease of use. Okay. Big Unit's been using his own band's recordings. Oh, also, I think YouTube have got their own free thing available, come to think of it, music-wise. I'm fairly sure in the creators channel or whatever, there's a, yeah, you can, there's a bunch you can use. I'm not sure how good it is. I haven't seen that. But anyway. Ravenwolf Guitar says, plus Ben will want to check out your tools as well. He loves tools almost as much as coffee. I really do. The use of the word dope is dope. Okay. Anyway, look, everybody, I'm gonna have to call this a night. I am running out of questions. Fluid Focus says there are no standards when it comes to guitars. Pretty much every company uses different measurements. Even internally within companies, it varies sometimes, which is a thing. Timing guitars. I saw a guitar made by Veneer with no truss rod. Fretless guitar with carbon rods. Ronthal Bumblefoot plays them. Yes. They absolutely exist. I've got an issue with taking something that works and allows flexibility for different players and different playing styles, and it really annoys me that some companies think that they can force their idea of what a guitar should play like and feel like by removing the flexibility of having a truss rod. I think that adjustment is absolutely essential. Okay. Cool. Neck through blanks, anonymous botch at Crimson. Yes, so if you want anything in particular, drop us an email, shop@crimsonguitars.com. If it's a timber that we have in, we could actually prepare a neck through blank for you as a sort of a semi-custom order. I understand that that's an issue because I've just said that we're losing money on the kits when we customize them, but it's, yeah, drop us an email. Second note says, would you avoid using Wenge most of the time? I just don't like how Wenge works. It's a tool that I would absolutely use when I'm using CNC machines or router tables or router sleds to thickness them. I prefer using hand tools, and using hand tools on Wenge is not, it's just not pleasant. But yes, if needed, I will do it. Dimitri says, Ben, I was routing a binding channel and I managed to ruin a big chunk of my fretboard. I removed the fretboard between 2 fret slots and glued another piece. It looks good. Is it viable? Absolutely viable. Yes, no worries whatsoever. Essentially, we're removing a large portion of fretboard, cutting fret slots, etc. So as long as the joint is good, I don't see any issues with that. It's not ideal, but I think it'll be fine. Luther for Build says Epidemic sound is awesome. Jaybird Custom asks what's the most unusual materials I've used in a guitar body, in a guitar build, body-wise, neck-wise. Well, Perspex for a neck and body. That was the Charlie Jones bass. Other than coffee beans, I suppose. That's, yeah. Okay. Hold on. Martin Valan says it's paint in the pocket via Super Chat. Thank you very much. The Big Unit says, take care of yourself, Ben. earning a living is important, but enjoying the living you make is importanter. I need to keep that in mind too. Love you, brother. See you next time if I'm not working, lol. I will be back next week. It's paint in the pocket from Martin was talking about the neck not fitting. It's entirely possible that that's the case. So yeah, just scrape it clean. Very good point. Yeah, it's difficult. D. Bailey says, I often joint both faces together and it doesn't matter if it's at a slight angle, but it wouldn't hide a bad joint. Suitably long plane and get a full width shaving on both faces. And there we go. Sweetie agrees with me on the truss rod issue. No truss rod equals one thing for one player. It makes no sense to not use a truss rod. They work as they should, and that ain't broke. Okay. All right, all you dope people. I'm calling it a day. Where are we? Nearly an hour and a half. This is it. I hit an hour and a half, and we run out of questions, and I run out of energy. So we're all good. Here we go. I'll have one more rant. I bought some tools today. I bought a beautiful toolbox, and it was excellent. And there's all sorts of little treasures and bits and pieces in there. And this here is a solid silver coin. That some absolute foolish individual decided to hammer flat. If they hadn't done that, this coin from 1798 would have been worth £400 or £500 or more. As it is, it's something to moan about. What can you do? It's a Maltese. Ferdinand, Maltese Ferdinand silver coin. What can you do? Anyway, rant over. Thank you very much for listening, for watching, for partaking in the questions. I will be back next week, Sunday evening, 8 p.m. UK time, for another live stream Q&A. There is going to be on the main channel, we've got one final episode of the Hofner Galaxy restoration. That went incredibly well. I'm so happy with how that guitar turned out. Like, it was mind-blowingly cool how well that plays. It is currently being raffled off. I will then start the bass build. Will be going live from Saturday. There are going to be a few other interstitial videos in the meantime. I am going to do an episode of the hand tool build, but my main goals at this point are to take a few days off to maybe finish the workshop, and to set things in order at Crimson headquarters. So yeah, watch the space, but most importantly, make some sawdust. After taking antihistamines if you're developing a sawdust allergy. Let's see how that goes. Goodbye.